Good afternoon, everybody. This is Ed Carter, and for the recording, this is the September 5th, 2018 Trader Vision 2020 User Workshop. Thank you all for coming this afternoon. I know it's late. At least one of you is in Europe, I know. So I appreciate your time. Let's see here. On the agenda today, we'll try to get out of here as quick as possible. The first thing I want to talk about is the new Vstop indicator that we have now added to Trader Vision. It's fairly simple, easy to control and manage, and I won't go through completely how to trade the Vstop. That's something that we've talked about in the trading room quite a bit, and we can get into it some other time, but I don't want to talk about a trading system per se. I'll just show you the indicator. I also want to then demonstrate the scanning widget, and I promised to give away a scan that I've written that basically finds charts that are, well, fit the pattern that Rick talked about last night in the eLearning on Tuesday. So I will go that, talking about a 3x8 trap. And if I'm not mistaken, that was Doug's original term or idea originally, so he gets some credit for that as well. And running our scans, we'll see if we can't find a couple tickers and plan a couple trades and answer questions. And we'll go from there. So with that said, let's go ahead and get started. Let's see if I can close that out. I guess I should start by talking about the markets, because everything goes off of what we think about the markets. This is the diamonds. Obviously, the diamonds, well, all the markets have been trending strongly. That turned into a not too bad candle today, as bad as it looked earlier. So the diamonds turned around and did okay. Let's see, I think the SPY was the only ne'er-do-well of the group today. Even that came back from where it was earlier, but put in a hammer. But you can see the short-term trend is down, but that long-term trend, which I think, the way I had it drawn, we have just broken. The SPY is the one that concerns me the most. The Qs were the ugliest chart pretty much all day long, and I think that was off of the news related to Facebook and Twitter being in the doghouse in front of Congress today. So that probably had a lot to do with it. I'm not sure, but that candle is such an anomaly compared to the other indices that I would give it a break today and say that's a one-off because of Congress news, and we'll see what happens tomorrow. And then the small caps, the IWM, again a hammer, came back dramatically from where it was down for the day. It's still down, but not nearly as bad as it could have been. Again, you can see that strong trend up and the very short-term trend down. So that's what the markets look like. Let's look at the Vstop, as long as we're here. So you right-click or you click New Indicator. Either one will get you this menu, and you choose Vstop. It pops up with the default of 20 periods and 2.0. You can change it to whatever you want based on a lot of testing Doug came up with, and then because I don't believe trust but verify is my motto, I guess. So I went through testing as well, and we both come to the agreement that for our trading style, at least, of swing trading, 10 periods and 1.5 ATR multiplier work best. I'm going to change the colors just a touch as well. Okay. Make that green just a touch darker as well. Okay. So there we go. This is a 10 period, 1.5 ATR Vstop. You can see that we're still bullish. We're still above the Vstop, although we certainly tested it this morning. But we're still above the Vstop in the IWM. In the SPY, we have turned red. In the diamonds, we're still green. So the IWM, the large caps and the small caps, are both bullish as far as that trend indicator is concerned. And then the Qs. The Qs and the SPY have flipped over, but again, I'm suspicious of this candle, and therefore I'm not going to make any rash decisions about the Qs today. I do honestly believe that has is a result of news risk, and theoretically when they get out of Washington, that may cause a pop back up tomorrow. So that's the Vstop indicator. As with all other indicators, you can click it over here to pull up in the legend to pull up the properties box where you can adjust either the period over which you're calculating the average true range, or the multiplier for average true range for the Vstop, or of course the colors. That's pretty much the nuts and bolts of how you add it. As far as how you use it, it's basically a trend indicator that works off of volatility or average true range. So by following a set of settings for the volatility stop that work for your trading style, your time horizon, you can make sure that you're on the right side of the trend. That's what it basically comes down to. It helps you identify the trend. Anytime you see a flat line of all the dots making a flat line, that tends to mean that in that area, not to the penny, but in that area someplace is a support level. And that's basically how I use the Vstop. And again, I don't want to get into a trading system, but you're looking for reversals and you're looking for good entries. So, any questions about the Vstop before I move on? Excuse me. Okay, no questions, so we're moving on. Let's go on to the scanner. For anybody who's new, I don't know if I see maybe a couple names that I don't recognize. If you're not familiar with it, this is the Trader Vision scanner. It comes with 35 built-in scans, and we'll just look at any one of them here. Let's look for things that are trending bullish. You select the market or the universe that you want to scan against. I'll just use the U.S. market, which is U.S. stocks and ETFs. For now, you can specify a liquidity filter, if you will, so a minimum 50-day moving average of volume. So and that's in millions. So if you put 0.4, for example, that means 400,000 shares per day on average with a 50-day average. Price, you can put a to price or from price. So let's say that I want only stocks that are over $5. I just pulled that one out of the air because I like stocks that trade 2 million per day in stock, and $5 times 400,000 shares gives me the 2 million. You can put an upper limit on there as well. So if you only trade stocks, I don't know, up to $50, then you do that. You click run, and there's your answers. In this particular case, for this scan, in this universe, with these filters, we have 48 results. And I've got on this chart the 50 and 200 simple moving averages that we can just flip down through to see that these are in fact trending bullish. Let's pull this over here so we have a little room to look. Personally, I'm not overly excited about trading this market. I think there's a couple potential events that could cause trouble. The big one, in my opinion, is that the China trade tariff comment period ends tomorrow, and the president is free to impose tariffs and he's threatened 200 million was what is threatened last week, and that could be applied as soon as, I guess, Friday, if it ends on Thursday, the comment period. So that's theoretically an overhang on the market. If that were to happen, that would be at least a knee-jerk reaction to the downside. Crestwood's not a bad, it seems to be finding some support in here. So Crestwood might be worth a look. And I want to get there. Dominion, possibly on a breakout. It's about, let's call it 17 bucks. Up into the 1850, just to this previous high. So that's a decent little first stop with a second target up here around the 200. And that looks marginally right there. So I would say that one's something worth keeping an eye on. FDC is one that I've ridden a couple times, and this is a beautiful trending chart. It's not quite as fast as a mover as I would like, but it's just steady working stock. HMSY, I've got a position in that. Looking for that to break out. Nice hammer today. Let's make that bigger so maybe you can see. Okay, I don't need to go through all 48 of these. Before I move on to the next topic here of writing our own scans, I'm going to have a quick question. Does anybody have any questions about how to run scans in general, or the operation? Things that I have not covered today, such as you can sort the prices if you want to sort the results by price, or we've got to make a fix on this. This is off by a multiplier of 100, but nonetheless, you could sort by the volume, or by the percent change, or by the ticker, or even by the next report date if you prefer. Okay, no questions. Let me move on then. So the next thing that I promised you guys was that I would go through the code, the scan that I wrote that matches what we call the 3/8 trap. And so let me go through that and show you how you would run it in Trader Vision. And I'm going to do this in sections here, so just hang on a sec. So this is where you would write your own code. It's next to the properties box is the code box. This first section of the scan is basically saying that the stock is trending bullish. So we're using the 34 period exponential moving average as our measuring stick, and we're saying that over the last 20 days, which is essentially a month, every 5 days it had to go up 1.5%. You could tighten the scan by changing this to 2%, so 1.02 or 3 or whatever you want, or you could loosen it up by reducing this number. So, if you take it down to 1.0, that means it only has to go up 1% every 5 days. So it's just how much of an uptrend do you want to have, defined by the 34 period moving average. The next part of the scan is that I want the ticker to be above the T line. Let's try that again. And so that's the code for the close being above the T line, or the 8 exponential moving average. And the last part of that 3/8 trap is basically that within the last 3 days, I want it to have closed below the the 3 period, or the 3 MA, the 3 period exponential moving average. And so that looks like this: either today's close or yesterday's close or the close before that. One of those three was below the 3 period exponential moving average. Now, I could run it just like this, and it would use the filters that I had put back here, or I can clear this out altogether, and it will find excuse me, any results with no filters within the US market universe. So if I run that, it finds 62 of them, but I'm not sure that's going to meet my liquidity needs. So either I can go back here to properties and add my liquidity in there, or you can do what I do, which is write your own liquidity filter. In my case, this is my liquidity filter. What I look for is the minimum volume of the last 63 days. So the minimum volume of the last 3 trading months, and I multiply that by the minimum closing price of the last 3 trading months, or 63 days. I want the product of the multiplying those together to be greater than or equal to 2 million. And what that tells me is the absolute minimum that it could have traded on any day in the last 3 months is $2 million worth of stock. And that puts it in, with my position size, a comfortable range where I can get in and out with a $10,000 position and not have to worry about moving things against myself. So if I take those 62 symbols and rerun this with this new criterion here, my liquidity filter, it now says there's only 36 stocks in the US market that match both my liquidity filter and the terms of that 3x8 trap. So let's add the exponential moving average 8. Let's make that black. And let's add a 3 period. Exponential. And you can see that today we closed just inside of that 3/8 trap for Apple. Same with Akai, both I guess just today it had a low below and a close in between the 8 and the 3, and there's closed yesterday and today in that trap. I guess we must have closed in the trap here yesterday on ATKR, and so forth. So do we have any questions about that scan? This is the pattern, or the what do I want to call it, the setup that Rick talked about on Tuesday night. Basically, you've got a trending stock and you found a little pullback, a little bit, it got a little extended, now it's pulled back, retested the T line, and it's in that trap between the 8 and the 3. Any questions about that? Is anybody still awake? Okay, I will just, because I'm a nice guy, let me copy that, including my liquidity filter, and paste it into the chat. This will just take me a second because Omnovia takes the spaces out and I have to go back and put the spaces back in between lines. Bear with me. I'm just about there. Okay, I think that will do it. That's the scan code. The first, everything prior to the first and including that and is my liquidity filter, and then the scan for the 3/8 trap is everything after that. So I hope that will help you out here. Now, I had picked out a few charts to look at earlier while I was scanning through them. Let me see if I can't pull them up on a larger chart here. Let's look at Aaron's, AAN. Okay, Aaron's has been trending up strongly bullish. We're in kind of a J-hook pullback. It's not quite as nice now as when I picked it out earlier, but it could be setting up for a doji continuation there. So let's look at what I had in mind. I guess a breakout trade here. Let's pull this down. And let's put the fibs on this. So that's how I had set up this particular trade, looking for a breakout buy with I believe it was a 23.6 pullback. So I was looking for a 38.2 first target and a 61.8 second target. So let's put that on a trade plan. Let's go to a different account here. So it's got earnings out of the way. We've got a couple months. We got 5 bullish indications, 1 bearish indication, which is that short-term bias because of the pullback. I'm going to enter it as 1 entry and 2 targets. So let's call that a 51.55 entry. And I had a stop about 49.20. And let's see. My first target was at 55.25, and my second target was at 57.50. So with this particular account, it says we can only do about 53 shares. Just because I'm stubborn, let's do 100. It's going to be too big for this account, almost 4%, but let's say we can live with that. $235 of risk to being stopped out, which is pretty steep, but for this account, with that a target or a trade goal of 350. But nonetheless, let's say we can accept that for the moment. If we sold half of those shares at that first target, we actually are not getting our 2 to 1. We're only getting that 1.57 to 1. So we go back here, and I set a stop of about something is dreadfully wrong. 49.16, 17. 49.17 is Vstop. What did I say on the trade? 49.20, so I was right in the ballpark. Let's go back and look at that. I could maybe see that there might be some support in here across these highs, this low, and these highs. And if I were counting on that, I would put my stop, let's say 49.40. Let's see if that makes the trade doable. If you buy into that concept that is in fact going to be potential support, that would get us closer, but it still wouldn't get us there. So I guess the upshot of this is that trade's just not going to fly. So let's close that and go on to the next one. I think I want to get this off of here. LXFT was one I found. Okay, LXFT has been trending bullish again. We've had a short-term pullback, put in a hammer here today, trying to break out, and this is a similar pattern. I would be looking for a breakout, so let's call it 47, 5 or 10, right in there as an entry. You can see that the V-stop's down here at I don't know, 45.23. That I had put mine just below the low of this wick, so I was up here around 49 or 45.60 or something like that. Let's see if we can't plan it and see if this one would work. Earnings are out of the way. We've got closer to 3 months this time. 6 bullish, 1 bearish indication, and that's just because it's a hanging man up here at the high, which is the same thing as a hammer at the high. And I'm going to call this more of a hammer because we had a pullback day the day before. Typically a hanging man is the highest candle. At least that's been my experience. So let's do 1 entry and 2 exits. What did I say about 47.05 or something like that? And the stop was 45.60, I think I said. And the first target was 49.50, if I recall correctly. No, actually, I'm going to go on up here to 51.40. So let's go on back here. Make that first one 51.40. And then the second target is up in here. Let's call that 54.80. It says we can do 86 shares. Again, I'm going to do 100 just to make the math easy on myself. That's maybe too big of a position. For this account, it's 3.6%. I'd probably accept it. It is $145 of risk. That's acceptable. If I sold 50 shares at that first target, I would get 3 to 1, making 9.25%. If I had to sell the whole position there, I could make $435 of profit, which exceeds my trade goal, so that works. But if I can sell half to book my profit, move my stop up, and hold on to the other half, I can run it on up and get 16.5% at that second target, giving me about a 13% overall trade, $605 of profit, and well over 4.121. So that will be a trade plan for you to consider for tomorrow, depending on how it breaks out and what it does, as well as your view of the market. Let's close that one, and we'll go back to one more, and then I will ask for questions, and we'll call it a day if you don't have any. The last chart that I found doing some scanning earlier was CDNT. This one's kind of newer, but it's still a nice setup. Oh, come on. Well, it's having trouble finding it. We must be having a data server problem. Wasn't that lovely? Well, let me pull over TC2000. I can show it there. So CDNT is a nice, beautiful bullish run. A little bit of a pullback here. I'm looking for a bullish signal. So we don't have a bullish signal yet. There's nothing to enter on this. But if it does catch its breath here, just like it did here, just like it did there, it could break out and look for the run to continue. I'm probably counting on this one run, which kind of matches the last 3 runs that we've had, as where I need to make my hay. So my stop's going to be down in here. Where was the V-stop today? 22.56. Okay, so I'm actually a touch low. So we can move this up so just below today's wick. Basically off of a line drawn across that high, or that body, and this low. So that's where we're going to put our stop. Let's go ahead and plan this then. I suspect maybe because it's a newer ticker, that's why we're not getting any data on it. Yep, I bet that's the case. Yeah, it only started trading back here in 2017. Unfortunately, I don't have data for that, so I can't plan that trade. Let's close that out. Okay, that's all I have for today. Do we have any questions? Or do you have any tickers that you'd like me to look at? Let me see somebody typing. I don't recall this ticker. Invite. Well, you can see that it's been beautifully trending. We've had a couple days pullback. We've got no reason to buy yet, and we tested the volatility stop today. What that tells me is that today's test was more than 1.5 times its normal move from yesterday's close against the position. So that was a real test. It did close up above it. It held that level, but that was a real test. I guess probably up at all-time highs are what could pass for it. I would probably use Fibonacci's here to give me a guide. If it was to hold this level, and notice how those 3 dots line up with the 23.6, let's just say that that is support and that does hold, and we get a bullish signal of some sort. It might look like, I don't know, a green candle or something over in here tomorrow. Bullish engulf of today's spinning top type doji. You know, today's was an indecisive candle. If I got that, I would probably be looking for a target up here around 38.2. Now I would go further out here to the left, and I can go back as far as I want, but I don't want to take all week to do it. It looks like, yeah, we're pretty much, we're in the all-time highs right now at the highs here. So the breakout level is pretty much all-time highs. So let's go back and make this 70 candles. And spread this out. So I would then put in a target. Let's let's say that we've got a breakout here of about 1550, just to pick a number, and a stop on that much of a move up. My stop is probably going to be in this area someplace, so I'm going to say right around in here. Let's call it 1410, and a first target is going to be up in here about 1840, and basically that's going to have to plan out. If it does plan out, then my second target, which I will manage by moving my stop up, taking profits. I usually take half my profits at the first target, and my second target would be up here about 20.25. So let's see if that would plan. I think that's what it was. Yeah, we've got 6 bullish, no bearish indications. We've got that bullish pattern working for us. If we put in, what did I say, 1550 as a breakout purchase there on a signal, with 1410, I think I said, as a stop, and 1840 is that first target, which is really where we need to make or break, and 20.25. 89 shares, let's make it 100. So it's a very small position for this account, but it is $140 of risk, because we've got $1.40 between the entry and the stop. But if I make that first target, I can pick up almost 19%, and I do get my 2-to-1, so it would work. And if I had to sell the whole position there, I wouldn't quite make my trade goal, so I'd only have booked $290 of profit. But if I can keep moving my stop up and write it on up a bit, if I can make that second target, I can get almost grandiose 30+% at that first, or at that second target, which would get me into my my trade goal. Would have almost a 25% trade. So I think NVTA could work. For me, I would want to see that breakout. Again, I got to see some sort of signal here, whatever it is, a bullish engulfing, something to make kind of a morning star out of this thing, and then I want to see it break out of this level up here. And once it breaks out of this, you saw over far off to the left, that was pretty much all-time highs. Then I'm looking for my fib extension on this 23.6 pullback to go up here to that 38.2. So that's what I think of that one, and I appreciate the question. Since we don't have any other questions, do I use market cap while scanning? I don't. I personally have no. I don't care about market cap. With that said, a liquidity filter kind of takes care of that, because market cap, the stocks that are more liquid are going to tend to have a higher market cap, just because the companies want to take advantage of they're trading so much they can issue more stock. So that is kind of baked in, but no, I do not specifically look for market cap. Oh, you're more than welcome, Mo. Thank you for coming. I appreciate your time this evening, guys, and we're going to get you out of here at 5 o'clock so everybody can go out and enjoy the evening. Thanks again for your time this afternoon. I look forward to talking to you next week or anytime in between. If you do need to reach me, let me give you my email address here. There you go. You can always reach me at ed@tradervision2020.com. The daily blog, which I did not post here, you can get to each day. hitandruncandlesticks.com, and then go to Trade Ideas, TV 2020 trade plans. As you can see, I do a little write-up about it. I give you the chart markup and my thoughts on that as of the day before, and then I give you the trade plan for that particular trade, and then the short video of me putting these things together. So if you're interested in that, please check out that Trade Ideas TV 2020 trade plans blog every day. And then of course that link, by the way, that short video is on the YouTube channel, which you can get to. It's TraderVision 2020 V2. So if you want, check those out as well. If you do, subscribe to that. They'll let you know about those videos every morning. Okay, thanks a lot, guys. Appreciate it. I'll talk to you soon.